The era of Dan Burton and the era of people taking the fifth, leaving the country, and in some cases going to jail, is an era I hope none of us repeat. In other words, the crimes that went on shouldn't repeat, and neither should the subpoenas.
Welcome back to Hardball. That was California Congressman Issa a couple weeks ago on CNN. He's expected to chair the House Oversight Committee if Republicans take the majority. Well, last night on Hardball, South Carolina Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn, the third-ranking Democrat in the House leadership, told us what he expects if Republicans get control. Let's listen. Do you really believe, as you said the other day, that if the Republicans get control of the Congress and the subpoena power, they're going to use it to go after the president's birth records? They're going to try to prove he's a foreigner and other nonsense like that?
I absolutely believe that. I take them at their word. I watch their actions. You know what I always say, having grown up in a parsonage, it's not their words, it's their deeds. And let's look at the members of that committee that's been talking about the Government Oversight Committee. You got Dan Burton sitting there. He is a co-sponsor of the birther bill. The ranking member, though he says that I didn't mean the birther stuff, I meant to look at fraud cases. Well, that's what they're saying. They're trying to delegitimize this president. They're calling him a fraud. So he'll be going after these subpoenas with that in mind.
Let's go right now to Congressman Issa. Thank you, Congressman Issa, for joining us tonight. So it's not true. Congressman Clyburn's dead wrong. You are not going to do with the kind of Burton stuff. You're not going to be shooting at cantaloupes out back on the Vince Foster case. You're not going to be doing birther stuff, even though Burton's on one of the birther lists, and so is Fortenberry's apparently talking like a birther. You're not going to follow their lead.
Not at all. First of all, that issue is long since settled. You know, Chris, I came into Congress when people were questioning whether or not George W. Bush was legitimate. Then I thought we should move on and work with the president. 2 years ago, I felt the same way, and I have been since.
Well, let's take a look at some things you have said. You've answered that question. Let's talk here about something you said on May 25th of this year concerning the issue of Joe Sestak, your fellow congressman. Let's watch.
An allegation has been made that multiple sources in both parties, Anthony Weiner, Dick Morris, and other Democrats, have made it very clear, that, and even Axelrod, that they should answer that, in fact, this is serious. This is an impeachable offense, according to Dick Morris. And I think that brings back the whole Nixonian question of it's not about what was done wrong. It's about the cover-up. And right now there's a cover-up going on at the White House.
Do you believe that there was any impeachable offense involved in White House conversations or alleged conversations with Joe Sestak, the Democratic candidate for senator in Pennsylvania?
Well, Chris, that investigation has pretty well been completed. It's not an alleged allegation now that we have emails and admissions that there were conversations with Joe Sestak and with Romanoff. What we're really trying to get to the bottom of in the next Congress will be, is this business as usual, something that we believe probably happened under the Bush administration, according to some of their people, and as Governor Rendell says, well, you know, you don't change everything. Will the American people want us to change that, to quit in the future using taxpayer dollars and positions to influence primary events or save their party money? I think the answer is we're going to have to try to get compliance.
Well, that's the question. Okay, well, that's the question. Are you going to spend the next several months, if you get to be chairman of the Reform Committee, subpoenaing people like Rahm Emanuel, perhaps Ed Rendell, whoever else you might be mentioning here, I don't know, asking them about a possible deal involving a job offer? Are you going to spend your time doing that?
Well, Chris, as I said, when Governor Rendell said this is typical, it goes on, I've done something similar. A member of the Bush administration's press team said that similar things happened under the Bush administration. What we discovered was that laws that are on the books to prevent this routinely are not considered to apply. So as part of reform, it's not a matter of looking back. Let's assume for a moment, as I believe that every administration has done it, we will look into whether or not taxpayer dollars should be used in that way and try to prevent it in the future, which I think is what the intent of the laws are. But we've got a lot bigger problems. You know, we have $1.4 trillion of borrowed money to get through each year. We're going to have to find savings, waste, and so on. That's going to be the major agenda of our committee. That's our real jurisdiction.
So it's not impeachable. So you're changing your mind now. It's not what you called impeachable. You don't believe no, you use terms like this. I don't think Jim Clyburn has made up these charges against you. When you go after issues like...
Chris, I appreciate your comment, but let's understand that I was quoting what Dick Morris said. I was in no way, shape, or form talking about it. I'm not going to be chairing that committee or anything else. The fact is, I'm on the Committee of Waste, Fraud, and Oversight and Reform. It's really about going after far down below the president, below his key cabinet officers, and get into the parts of government that waste your dollars. That's what my committee has to do. That's our mandate. That's what I intend to do if I'm given the opportunity.
Okay. Here's something else. This was posted this year by your staff. Let's listen to it on health care.
The concern is that if you can bribe, and I mean bribe, members of the House and the Senate to get their votes, then democracy as we know it simply won't work.
Well, we're talking about health care, and you're using the term bribe there. You use terms like bribe, like impeachable. You're talking about the subpoena power. The question is this going to be another 80th Congress like we had right after World War II, where they used to say they opened every day with a prayer and ended it with a probe? Are there going to be a lot of probes like this going after people like Rahm Emanuel and people who you say took bribes in the health care bill?
Well, I wish Rahm good luck in his campaign. The truth is that we have a problem in Congress with earmarks. We have a problem in Congress with trading something for a district for something else in somebody else's district. And yes, I'm going to work with, I hope, Speaker Boehner to end the era of earmarks, no matter where they come from, and get back to accountable spending, transparent spending. That is something I want to work on. It's not the issue of my committee, but it is the issue of Republicans if we have an opportunity to lead.
Do you believe that members of Congress, your colleagues, were bribed to vote for the health care bill? You used the term here. It's a legal term, bribe, as you know. Do you mean it?
I certainly think that there were a lot of inducements, but, you know, we can go back to inducements on Medicare Part D. It is not unique to have the heavy hand and the opportunity that comes from a White House to try to move legislation. The real question is, are we going to make it impossible, either for an administration or for powerful members of the House or Senate, to airdrop in spending and benefits for one district or another in order to get a vote on usually an unrelated matter? That's important, and that's something that I take very seriously. I think all Republicans have learned from many Republicans falling into that, and I think that's the important issue that the American people are thinking about is, have the Republicans learned their lesson from having been in the majority at a time in which earmarks got out of control?
You sound very sober now, Congressman, and I would accept anything you say tonight because you're in a very sober mood, but your staff is putting out terms like, and I just got this, calling Congressman Clyburn, one of the ranking Democrats, one of the top 3 Democrats in the House, a sock puppet, a sock puppet. You called him goofy and paranoid. Do you think these are appropriate ways to get along with your fellow members, these terms?
Well, I certainly think calling somebody paranoid when they're putting words into a mouth of that, when my position is just the opposite as to the president, you know, I think that probably was appropriate. I think that perhaps the Democrats are getting paranoid that the Republicans are going to take control, and so they're coming out with things out of fear or just making them up. I have supported this president. I've worked with this president. I've tried to get legislation passed with this president. And I intend on working with the president in the next Congress regardless of the outcome. So I would hope that we can use better language. I would hope that we would not claim that somebody's intentions are flat wrong. I think we have to make sure the process is fair, the process is transparent, and then we all have to live up to the high standards that are set.
Thanks for coming on the show. Congressman Darrell Issa will probably be ranking member. In fact, is ranking member on the Reform Committee, may be chairman of it if the Republicans get control of the House.